Hello kids, thanks for joining me once again. This is me Sada. I request all my dear kids to pen down all points stated ahead. So now let's begin. Our first topic for today is what are the major transformations apes underwent before transforming into the modern man. The answer lies ahead. Beginning with the first essential criteria is bipedalism. Previously, apes used all four appendages, that is the hind limbs and forelimbs for locomotion. As ages passed, man started walking only on hind limbs, that is the legs, and freed their forelimbs, that is the hands, for other activities and labor. We then have the skeletal difference between ape and man. As you see, the foot of an ape is naturally designed in such a way that it enables an ape to grip on tree bark and move. As for us, we do not need such skeletal feature as we walk with two hind limbs on the ground. Next, what we have is the pelvic girdle. Chimpanzees have narrow pelvic girdle, where in the case of human, it is broad as most of our mass of our thorax region and head falls directly on the pelvic girdle. Further, we have the difference between the foramen magnum of ape and man. Foramen magnum is the opening in the base of skull through which the spinal cord passes. In apes, it lies a little posterior to the base of skull. However, due to the erect posture of man, it lies in the center of the base of skull. Followed by is the increase in cranial capacity. As we move from ape to other evolutionary forms, there is a slight increment in each evolutionary form in the cranial size. Here is the graphical representation depicting the same increase of cranial capacity over generations. We then have the reduction of canines. As we know, our ancestors used to feed on raw flesh, thus they needed strong, large canines. Due to the same reason, they had large and more mineralized teeth. More mineralized teeth means they had more calcium content in it. Whereas us, we feed on soft cooked food. Hence, we do not need such large protruding canines. This brings me to the next point of simian gap, which is the gap between the incisors and canines. In case of apes, this showed presence of such gap, but over time, the simian shelf disappeared. Following on to the loss of jaw power. Due to the fact owing to the raw flesh, apes required straw jaw musculature, whereas modernized man like us feed on to cooked food which doesn't require strong force to chew. Therefore, the molars reduced in size and the jaw got less robust. Finally, an essential criteria is the changes in face. Please mark this as important as you are many a times asked question on this. Here, we first have orthognathous and prognathous face. Orthognathous face means in which the jaw is not proceeding outwards, whereas prognathous face means in which the jaw is proceeding outwards. Next, we have the simian shelf, which is nothing but the simian gap. As we have discussed this before, simian gap is nothing but the gap between the incisor and the canine. So the simian shelf is absent in man, whereas it is present in apes. Chin is present. Eyebrow ridges are absent. The eyebrow ridges are the bone projecting above the opening of the eyeball, or you can call it as the supraorbital fissure. Next, we have the occipital condyle and the foramen magnum are directed downwards. We have already discussed about the foramen magnum, but for those who do not know what occipital condyle is, please have a look. The red mark you see is known as the occipital condyle. It is surrounding the foramen magnum. Foramen magnum is nothing but it is the opening in the base of skull through which the spinal cord passes. Forehead is straight in case of man, whereas forehead is sloped in case of apes. Canines, as discussed previously, is small, whereas apes have large and protruding canines. Height and posture. We have already seen the skeletal adaptation that apes undergone to give rise to new erect evolutionary resemblances. This is a sum-up version of the skeletal difference we have seen. We shall now see the core of the chapter, the actual evolution over generations to generation, moving to our depicted ape of ancestry, that is Australopithecus. Australopithecus were small statured for about 3.5 to 4 feet in height, having a cranial capacity of 450 to 600 cubic centimeter. They had a broad pelvis and a slightly curved vertebral column. They had man-like dentition and the semen gap was absent. A prognathous face with chin absent. Again, prognathous face is nothing but a face in which the jaw is proceeding outwards. The eyebrow ridges projected over eyes. Next we have is Homo habilis. They represented first man-like ancestors, having height of 4.5 to 5 feet tall, 680 to 735 cranial capacity. They showed bipedal locomotion with slightly erect posture than that of Australopithecus. They had large head and less protruding face. Body was covered with hair and they showed man-like dentition. Moving forward to Homo erectus. The first ancestors to hunt and use fire. As we proceed, the cranial capacity and height increase. They showed fully upright posture with broad pelvis, hence they got the name of Homo erectus. They had prognathous face and chin absent. Further comes the Neanderthal man. Neanderthal man had a cranial capacity of about 1450 cubic centimeter, about 5.5 feet in height, and exhibited bipedalism, erect posture, large head, and slightly slanting broad forehead. They show prominent brow ridges. I repeat, not heavy but prominent brow ridges and almost no chin. Less hair on the body, etc. Moving on to a more advanced version of Neanderthal man are the Cro-Magnon. They showed small canines and no semen gap. Obviously, the cranial capacity and height was slightly greater. The broad arched forehead, moderate brow ridges, and had an orthognatous face. They also showed prominent chin, erect posture, and less body hair. Last but not the least, the very essential Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens, the more modernized man-like. They had a cranial capacity of 1450 to 1600 cubic centimeter. They had small canines and no semen gap. Steep forehead, reduced brow ridges and flattened face. They also showed prominent chin, erect posture and highly reduced body hair. Contributing to this, they had bipedal locomotion, flattened sternum, which is also known as the breastbone, straight limbs, and forelimbs were shorter than the hind limbs. This is where we end up with our evolutionary forms. We will now see a few exam questions that will be your next home assessment. These are a few questions which are asked based on this chapter. All the points have been covered in the previous 2 videos, sufficient for you to answer them. So before you start solving these questions, I request you to please go through your notes once. Thank you so much. See you again. Till then, stay safe, stay home, and keep learning.